Hello! The Kingston Fury Renegade has been on the market for about a year, being the successor to the Kingston KC3000. Inside this simple package is an ultra high-end NVMe SSD drive, which I'll be testing today to see how it stacks up against previously tested drives. In addition to the maximum speeds declared by the manufacturer, this drive comes with superior endurance to competing models. The 1TB model has an endurance of 1000 TB written, compared to the Western Digital SN850 or Samsung 980 Pro, which only have an endurance of 600 TB written. Kingston Fury Renegade is producing capacities of 500 GB, 1 TB, 2 TB and 4 TB, and benefits from a 5-year warranty within the endurance limit specific to each capacity. The controller used is Phison E18, the DRAM memory for caching is Nanya DDR4 2666, and the non-flash memory is 3D TLC from Micron. This NVMe drive is covered with a sheet of graphene aluminum for heat dissipation, but it is also produced in the version with radiator. Keep in mind that any NVMe PCIe 4.0 drive gets hot, and it is preferable to be under a radiator when used in PC or in PlayStation 5. Now I will mount it for testing in both the motherboard's PCIe 3.0 and PCIe 4.0 slots, both of them being provided with heatsinks. In Windows, the Kingston SSD Manager utility detects the drive and provides basic information such as serial number, firmware version, and health status. The application allows firmware update if there is a newer version. Nothing about interface speed or system connection though. The main benchmarking applications used to test this drive are Crystal Disk Mark with NVMe SSD mode with free tests using the peak performance and real-world performance profiles with 1 GB and 8 GB files. The second test application is ASSSD Benchmark with 1 GB and 10 GB files. 3D Mark Storage Benchmark evaluates performance by tasks such as loading a game, saving progress, installing game files, and recording a gaming session in Full HD at 60 fps, all repeated 3 times. This test manages to stress the drives enough to get a clear differentiation in terms of gaming performance. In Crystal Disk Mark, in the peak performance test with 1 GB file, Fury Renegade wins over SN850 due to the better write speeds. The situation is identical also in the peak performance test with 8 GB file. In the real-world performance test with 1 GB file, Fury Renegade drive wins again over the SN850 due to the better write speeds. Likewise in the real-world performance test with 8 GB file. In ASSSD Benchmark, in the test with 1 GB file, the Fury Renegade drive comes out favorite with a score of 8252 points. However, in the test with 10 GB file, Fury Renegade falls behind SN850 by a margin of 1000 points. Overall, on PCI Express 3.0, Kingston Fury Renegade proved to be the coldest NVMe SSD, both at idle and at the maximum temperature reached during Crystal Disk Mark testing. In Crystal Disk Mark, in the peak performance test with 1 GB file, Fury Renegade wins over SN850 due to the better sequential speeds. The situation repeats in the peak performance test with 8 GB file. In the real-world performance test with 1 GB file, the Fury Renegade drive wins again over the SN850 due to the faster write speeds. And the same in the real-world performance test with 8 GB file. In ASSSD Benchmark, in the test with 1 GB file, Fury Renegade wins easily over the SN850. However, in the test with 10 GB file, Fury Renegade loses to SN850, despite its much higher sequential speeds. Kingston Fury Renegade wins most tests, but the competition was tough. Further testing with AutoDisk Benchmark confirms once again the superiority of the Kingston drive, showing higher speeds in most tests in comparison with WD Black SN850 drive. On PCIe 4.0, Kingston Fury Renegade proves to be the coolest NVMe Gen 4 SSD, both at idle and at the maximum temperature reached during Crystal Disk Mark testing. In the 3D Mark Storage Benchmark, Kingston Fury Renegade gets the best scores on both PCI Express 4.0 and PCI Express 3.0, right on top of Western Digital Black SN850. You can see now in the left graph the current prices of the drives in Romania. Kingston Fury Renegade costs 567 RON, equivalent to 114 euros. Considering its price and performance in the 3D Mark Storage Benchmark as 100%, We can see in the second graph how the SN850 drive costs 19% more for a 4 to 6 lower performance. If we consider WD Black SN850's price and performance in the 3DMark storage benchmark as 100%, we can see how Fury Renegade costs 16% less for a 4 to 7 higher performance. In conclusion, I can say that the performance proven in tests, the higher endurance and the price recommends the Kingston Fury Renegade drive as the most suitable choice among the 4 tested drives. I hope this video will help you make an informed choice, and as always, a big thank you for watching. Also, special thanks to all the subscribers of this channel for the granted trust. Until next time, spend responsibly. God help.